you're going to have the 90-day crud when you go to the Philippines, and it'll hit everybody. And for about 90 days, you got to get used to the food and just the different bacteria that's here. You've got to get used to that. And so it's going to take about 90 days. You're going to get sick here and there, but it'll take a while to get used to it. I've been visiting Southeast Asia for the last 9 years and lived in BGC, Bonifacio Global City, in the Philippines for almost 3 years. Been traveling to Vietnam and Thailand for over 2 years now, and actually live in both Bangkok and here in Da Nang, Vietnam. So I'm here to share my experiences with you. What's up, herd? JJ the Lonely Bull in Asia, out here in Da Nang, right on the beach, right over there, right behind you. I'm at one of my favorite beach bars called Paradise. Today we're going to talk about 10 reasons why not to live in a province. Thank you. This is a great bar if you like good happy hour specials. You buy 2, get 1 free beers. They even have San Miguel beer here. For those that are familiar with the Philippines and come here, you'll know you'll have your San Migs. And they got great smoothies too, great banana and mango smoothies. But today, it's chilly. I'm doing the coffee thing. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'll tell you why. My last video was the Christmas show in Antrong. It rained that whole night, and I was standing outside doing the video. I ended up getting sick being out in that cold, rainy weather. So I ended up getting bronchitis. And Christmas night, I could barely breathe. It was so bad. My chest was so bad. So, but I'm on meds here. We've got great pharmacies here, and they took care of me. So I'm on meds and I'm on the road to recovery. So thankfully for that. So on antibiotics and all the other drugs. Anyway, so 10 reasons why not to live in the province. So if you're thinking about moving out to Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Thailand, here in Vietnam, and you're wondering where to live, and you see all these videos of people living in the province, and it's a good life, I'm going to speak in generalities. I've got 10 reasons why you may not want to live in the province. And after these 10 reasons, and stick around for number 10 because it's really important. After these 10 reasons are cited, and again, I'm speaking in generalities, you may have second thoughts about living in a province. You may want to live in a larger city when you come out to Southeast Asia. All right, reason number 1, food availability. And I'm talking about grocery stores. If you live in the provinces and you live outside of, maybe a major city or a major town, the choices of finding good grocery stores is very slim. And you may have to travel quite a ways to even get to a place that has the groceries you might need. Now, there may be street markets or street vendors, wet markets around that you might be able to find that's closer. But generally speaking, if you're living in the provinces, you have to travel a little bit to get the groceries that you may be accustomed to in the West. So that's part of it. No Western food options really as far as groceries unless you travel a long way to get to where you need to get those groceries. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, restaurant choices. Restaurant choices are going to be limited as well. Now, I was living in BGC for almost 3 years, Bonifacio Global City, which is the nicest, arguably the most expensive city or area in the Philippines, but still about a third or about half of what I would be paying in the U.S. So still a lot cheaper. And I was able to live there very comfortably on a budget between $1,700 and $2,000 a month. And now before you make those comments that you can live cheaper, yeah, you probably could. But I like the luxuries. I like the Western amenities. I like the conveniences of the West. And that's what BGC gave me. So I was willing to pay a little extra and still be way under my budget, be way under my income. So I was able to live comfortably and happy And so anyway, lots of restaurant choices in BGC, Metro Manila, even in Cebu, in some of those larger cities. Iloilo is becoming very popular now. Bacolod is becoming very popular. Davao City, I've not been there before, but that's a metropolitan city. So you can find some good food choices, great restaurants in these areas, great Western food options too in these restaurants. So if that's your thing, that's where you should be. And living in the province, you're limited to those options. You may have some options in the smaller province areas, but not to the extent that you would in the West, or in the West, or in the larger cities in the Philippines, or even in Thailand or in Vietnam. So just be aware of that. Western food options are limited if you're living far in the provinces. Number 3, brownouts. I've never experienced a brownout the entire 3 years I lived in BGC because their power lines are underground. So when there's a typhoon and high winds blow through, you're not going to get those power lines knocked down. Never had a brownout. Brownouts are a thing in the Philippines. I'm not sure about Vietnam. Now, my first week in my apartment, my second day in my apartment in Da Nang, Vietnam, they had a annual maintenance, and they shut down the power in the entire neighborhood for actually almost a third of the city, I think, was out of power from about 6 in the morning till almost 6 at night. So 12-hour brownouts. They call them brownouts here in Southeast Asia. They're blackouts. You don't have any power unless you've got generators. So you're going to find that, especially in the Philippines, in the province areas, that brownouts are a common occurrence. They happen all the time. Now, you'll have people that say, get a generator. Well, yeah, you can get a generator. If you own your house, you can probably get a generator. But if you're living somewhere where you're renting, I don't know if getting a generator is that wise. I don't know, maybe. Or if you're in a condo, you can't get a generator in a condo. Yeah, in those some small instances where a generator might work for you, or solar panels, but if you're renting, you're not going to get solar panels for your house. So just be aware if you're living in the provinces, especially in the Philippines. I'm not sure about Vietnam and Thailand, but in the Philippines, brownouts can be a huge issue. Number 4, decent housing and rental options. You might be able to get some cheap rentals in the provinces, but what's the quality going to be like? What are your surroundings going to be like? Electricity, water issues, bathroom issues. You know, a lot of these Asian bathrooms are very simple, where you've got the toilet and the shower is right above the toilet. I don't know, that would drive me crazy. I will not get that. Or you'll have a shower, but there's no hot water. Or you'll have a shower, but there's no partition, so the water runs all throughout the bathroom. So if that's okay with you, fine, not for me. So those are some issues you might run into with housing or rentals in provinces. They may not be up to what your Western standards might be. So you either have to go to adjust or take longer to find something that's going to work for you. But those options are probably going to be limited. Some people will find those diamonds in the rough, so to speak, and they'll get lucky, or they'll build their own house. But I'm talking basically about renting here. I'm not talking about owning or building a house. So housing rentals can be problematic when living in the provinces. Now, when you live in the cities, now you could run into those same problems, but you've got more options. Like in BGC alone, there's dozens upon dozens of condos there that you can choose from. Makati is right next door. They got some great condos there, all throughout Metro Manila, Cebu and IT Park and in Mactan, Newtown. They've got some great options there with some really nice remodeled apartments or condo units that are for rent. So you just have to look around, but generally speaking, the city options are probably a little better. All right, number 5, let's talk a little more about the bathrooms. Like I said, you might have some pretty bad looking bathrooms if you're living in the province. They may not be up to your Western standards. Like I said, you may have a toilet with a shower right above it. You may not have hot water, which, you know, I get some blowback saying, why do you need hot water? It's always hot in the Philippines. I don't like showering in cold water, you know? So if I have a choice between cold water and hot water, you know, I can get the hot water heater and make it warm. It doesn't have to be boiling hot, but just make it warm enough so I don't freeze my butt off when I'm in the shower. That could be an issue living in the provinces. You may have a hard time finding those bathrooms that meet your Western standards. All right, before I get to number 6, if you like the content on my channel and you like watching and seeing, you know, sharing my experiences with you, go ahead and click that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed before. About 70% of the people that watch my videos still haven't subscribed, so make sure you're subscribed, and that way, and hit that notification bell. That way you get notified when I post new videos. I just like sharing my experience with you guys. So number 6, bad weather, especially in the Philippines. Man, the Philippines is like the ring of fire, where you've got typhoons, you've got volcanoes in some areas, you have floods, you have landslides, earthquakes. All that could be in one island, but you know, it's just spread all over. But if you're in the province, that could be a real problem for you. If you run into typhoon and you lose power and you lose water, that could be weeks before you get it back. If you get a landslide, it could wipe out your road. So, and the flooding, not to mention the flooding. So if you're in the city, like BGC never floods. They have a great drainage system. They have this huge retention tank that's underneath Burgos Circle. And it's like 6 stories high and like 2 football fields in circumference or diameter. So all the water drains right into that, and then there's a release valve that releases it into the ocean when it gets full. So it's never flooded in BGC. Now, there are areas in Metro Manila that does flood, some of the poorer areas, so you do have to be aware of that. But generally speaking, you can find areas in the cities where you're not going to have the flooding issues that you have in the province areas. And typhoons really don't affect BGC or Manila that much. I mean, there will be flooding in some of those outer areas in Manila and some of those metro cities, and that could be, and it can be bad. But generally speaking, you're not going to get the issues. You won't get the road outages. You won't get the landslides or anything like that in a large city like you will in the province, or you could in the province. All right, number 7, the infrastructure. So like I said, you know, if you have one road that leads to your place in the province and you have a mudslide and it wipes the road out, or a flood where you can't pass, you're stuck either outside of your house or in your house. So you have to be very aware of the weather and what's going on, and be prepared. You know, if you're in the city, you don't have that issue because the infrastructure is a little better, okay? Now, especially in Thailand, in Bangkok, great infrastructure there. You can get around there. Now, they do have flooding there, but it's not to the extent that you do in the province areas. But you just have to be aware that the infrastructure isn't as good in these province areas, and you may have just one road that leads in and out of where you live and to real civilization, so to speak. And if that gets washed out, you could be without a way to get around, or in and out of your place for quite some time. Number 8 is travel issues. So say you want to travel outside of where you're at. In the province, you'd probably have to take a trike to a main road, find a bus, take that bus from the main road to a town or city, and then maybe get on another bus that takes you to a larger city, or a ferry that takes you to another island and you got to do all this before you even get to an airport so you can fly out of the country. That can be harrowing at the least. So let me tell you, I speak from experience. So when I first came to the Philippines back in 2015, I flew into Manila. Fine, stayed there for 2 days, had a girlfriend that I met. We went up to northern Luzon in Cabanatuan, and then in Nueva Ecija, and that's where she lived, in that province. We had to take a bus from Manila. It was like a 4-hour bus trip, and I had to. It was not air conditioned. I had to sit. Now it was December, so the weather was a little nicer, but it was still hot. I had to sit on a plank, like a 2x8 plank that they put across the aisle because this bus was so full. So I had to sit on that, nothing to lean back on, for 4 hours. It was not fun. And then we get to Cabanatuan, then we had to take a trike. If you know what the trikes are, it's a motorcycle with a sidecar, and you're all scrunched down in the sidecar. And that took me to another place where we got on a bus that took us to where she was living. And then when I was visiting Leyte, it was the same thing. I flew into Tacloban, and then from Tacloban, I had to get a bus from Tacloban down south to southern Leyte. I was going to Mahaplag, and then from the highway, I had to wait for a trike to come up and pick me up and take me to Mahaplag from the highway. And then the same thing going back. I had to take a trike from Mahaplag to the highway, and then wait for a bus take me to Tacloban, get back to the airport. I mean, it was an adventure, to say the least. And then, you know, my latest journey in Negros, same thing. Fly into Bacolod and then take a bus all the way around till we got to Canleon, and that was a trip, you know. So it's not easy to travel around the Philippines. Let's just put it that way. And if the farther you live out from major cities, especially cities with airports, the harder and the more complicated it becomes. Number 9, safety. Now, I'm not saying that it's not safe in the province. It could be safe. I mean, I'm just speaking in generalities. If you live in a big city like BGC, that's a safe bubble, you know. And if you live in a condo, you've got security levels. You got different levels of security that will prevent anybody from breaking into your condo, because you can't get past the guard at the gate unless you have proper identification or they know you live there. You can't get past the front door man. You can't get past the front desk. A lot of these condos have key card entry, so you need a key card to even get into the elevator or through the front door, not to mention getting into your condo. So there's a lot of security in condos when you live in a larger city. Now, there are gated communities in these province areas where the security's a little better, but a lot of these places you're living out in the middle of nowhere. You don't really have any neighbors, so you don't know, you know, how safe is your stuff. I'm not saying that it's 100% not safe, but you just have to be aware that there may be some problems that could develop where your safety might be a concern. Just recently, you know, a YouTuber was kidnapped down in Mindanao area. You know, it was a bad area, and he was not smart for being in that area, but if he was in the city, he probably would still be around today, is what I'm saying. So just be aware of that. Be aware of your surroundings. It could be an issue if you're in the provinces. Because really, when you think about it, you're a foreigner there. So there may be, you may have friends that live around that area that are Filipino, but there may be Filipino that resent you, and they look at you as being rich because you're a foreigner. So they may see that as an opportunity to rob from you, burglarize your house, whatever the case may be. So you just have to be aware. Don't flaunt your money. Don't flaunt your wealth. Just be careful with that. And before I get to number 10, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and hit the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. All right, number 10, and this comes back to my health right now. You know, I got sick, I got bronchitis, but I was lucky enough to be in a city with a population of over 1.5 million people that's got good health care, and they're taking care of me. I'm already on the mend. I still have that bad cough and some chest congestion, but it's getting better. Day by day, it's getting better and better. So health care in the province can be an issue. If you come over here, and here's my suggestion, or here's my advice, unsolicited, take it for what it's worth. But if you're over 60 and you've got health issues, you probably shouldn't move out to Southeast Asia in the first place, because you're going to have issues when you come out here. The first thing, you're going to have the 90-day crud when you go to the Philippines, and it'll hit everybody. And for about 90 days, you got to get used to the food and just the different bacteria that's here. You've got to get used to that. And so it's going to take about 90 days. You're going to get sick here and there, but it'll take a while to get used to it. So you're going to need to be near some good healthcare facilities. Now, in BGC, it's right next to St. Luke's Hospital, which is the best healthcare facility in the Philippines. You know, in Bangkok, where I live, you've got great healthcare, great hospitals there, fantastic. Here in Da Nang, Vietnam, my other place that I live, really good healthcare options. So if you're out in the province, you don't have those options. Just recently, an American expat YouTuber died living in the province. I just wonder how long. He either had a heart attack or a stroke, but I wonder how long it took if they called an ambulance. How long did it take the ambulance to get from the city where it was, Dumaguete, to his place, which was not in Dumaguete, which was a ways away, and back to the hospital, you know, or how long did it take for whomever took him to the hospital to get him there, you know, because if you're in the province, you're deep in the province, it'll take a while to get to a good healthcare facility, and it could take quite a while, and every minute counts when you're having health issues. So just be careful, just be aware that eventually everybody's going to have a health problem. You know, I've been really healthy. I've been lucky, knock on wood. My health's been really good. God provided me with great health. Unfortunately, he didn't provide me much with brains or good looks, but I got good health, so I got that going for me, at least for now. But everybody's health will fade eventually, and when you get above 60, it's more apt to happen, and it'll happen more quickly. So you have to be ready. Have that insurance, obviously, but be close to a medical facility. So if you do have a medical emergency, you can get there quickly, and minutes count when those emergencies come up. So in the province, you don't have those options. You're far, far away from good medical facilities. So just be aware of that. So there's my 10 reasons why you might not want to live in the provinces or the countryside in the Philippines, Vietnam, or Thailand, or anywhere in Southeast Asia. You know, that's why I like the city life. Even here, I'm by the beach, but I can go back to Bangkok. I'll go back in January and live that city life that I love so much in that big energy city of Bangkok. So those are my 10 lists. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything else that you might add to that. And as always, like, share, and subscribe, and live life, my friend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.